I guess for most people, it's a struggle to even get in the gym and get some sort of workout. For me, it's the other way around, man. To me, it's a struggle to get out of the gym. I always feel like I want to experiment with different things. This morning I woke up at 4:30. I was in here by like 4:45. Now it's like what 6:30, and I barely go through my workout. I gotta go, run now. I can't. I've run out of time. But basically, that's a lot of time that I've spent today. Just, I wasn't sitting around, messing around. I was actually kind of like experimenting with different ab exercises. So you see here, I did the loo bends. I ended up doing 5 lots of those for a set of 30 each, so 15 aside. That kind of went all right, I guess. I'm still kind of sore and kind of like unstable, I guess, in the lower back. Still don't feel the confidence like I'm fully recovered from it, so I kind of took it a little slower and less angles and whatever. But after this, I started experimenting with sit-ups. So you guys know that I love sit-ups. What I was trying to basically experiment with is straight leg versus bent leg. So last night I was reading that book again. I went back to the same chapter, Djuric and Kramer, Strength Training Practice or something like this. Really good book. So I went in there, they were talking about the forces involved in the lumbar spine, when lifting, when leaning forward, when bracing, when not bracing. And they were basically saying that you can basically decrease the pressure on your lower back by like something up to like 40% of the force reduction if you brace correctly. And so they went on to talk about the psoas muscles, the hip flexors, and how they impact the core. And they went and talk about why straight leg and bent leg, why there's different forces. So basically, when you bend your legs and you do sit-ups from a kind of bent position, so still supine, but just your feet are all the way to your bottom basically. So that has less hip flexor drive and more kind of rectus abdominis drive. That doesn't mean there's no hip flexor involvement at all. It's just it decreases the pressure on the lower back. The reason why I wanted to experiment with that is because, well, I've got a kick-ass psoas exercise, which is that psoas curl with the dumbbell, whatever it's called. I just kind of made that up for me, and that's how I write it in my logbook, but training log. So I've got that to hit the psoas primarily. So I thought, why do I have to hit it again with the sit-ups? Let's kind of like alter the sit-up in such a way that I can kind of hit the rectus abdominis a bit better. So basically, I was just kind of messing around with that. I was messing around with decline, incline. I was messing around with like spreading my legs, like really wide. I was actually then like looking for a band, to kind of work the rotation. So I was doing all sorts today. Basically, today was like an experimental thing. I really kind of, so last night I was kind of reading, and this morning I couldn't wait to get in the gym here and in the garage and just kind of experiment with some of these ideas that I developed. And then I look at the clock and I'm like, damn, now it's just kind of disappeared and I haven't properly trained. So then I had to kind of jump back in the squat, go into the squat and a sprint up to 160, and then I had to run. So I'm making this as a kind of last ditch effort before I run away. And so, yeah, I'm just still kind of thinking about all this stuff. I think, I'm concentrated on the core, like you guys know. I'm still thinking about how to split up, how to program my core. I don't think you need to hit obliques every single day, especially if you're doing it, the way I'm doing it, and they're sore. So I kind of want to go sides, obliques, and then I'm going to hit a rectus abdominis and just keep kind of rotating. Every day I want it to be core day. Every day I want it to be a squat day. Some discussions with you guys again about anterior pelvic tilt and posterior pelvic tilt and what's most optimal when you're doing some of these ab exercises. So when you are doing sit-ups, you have to be in a posterior pelvic tilt. That means that you are tucking your tail underneath. That means you're flexing your abs. If you don't do that and you let your arch back, so the small of your back, there's a kind of a round to it, or arch, sorry. So sticking your belly button out, that means that your rectus abdominis and your core is inactive. Which is why I'm not jumping on the bandwagon of leg raises yet. I want full control. Like when I see the gymnasts do their leg raises, when they're kind of hanging, doing all sorts of like L-sits and whatever, they don't let their pelvis kind of rotate anteriorly ever. They're always kind of tucked underneath. And it's a subtle kind of move, but it's vital. It is vital for the health of your back. Because if you allow anterior pelvic tilt, you will kind of, develop that motor neuron pattern, and then when you go underneath the squat and you start kind of squatting, you will go into that again. So rounding your back is real bad. Arching your back too much is also really, really bad. So there needs to be some sort of balance within the pelvis, and that's basically the role of the core, essentially, along with the glutes and hamstrings and quads and whatever. So, a lot to think about there. It's all about balancing the equation. The book, Zartorsky and Kramer, they talked about how, they said this specifically, and it kind of resonated with me. They said if you have an athlete that develops a sports hernia, they said that's basically a coaching blunder. I thought it was remarkable, a coaching blunder, because the strength from the posterior side of that athlete versus the anterior side of that athlete is uneven. Most likely the anterior is very weak, and so what's happening is people are going more and more into anterior pelvic tilt, and they're basically splitting the guts forward. The guts are, we're lifting with intra-abdominal pressure. So, we tighten up the core, but the core is tilted forward, and all of a sudden that force needs to go somewhere, and it usually spills forward. Hernias happen that way. So I thought that was remarkable. A hernia is a coaching blunder, is a coach's blunder. I thought that was remarkable. So anyway, I squat every day. I squat every single day, so that's a lot of squats, right? So I need to think about the anterior core of me. I don't think I'm balanced. I think I have been unbalanced for many years now. Basketball kind of put me in that kind of position, and then I started weightlifting, and that kind of solidified that position. So I need to do a lot of work in the anterior side of me to kind of balance that out. So that's kind of where my mind is at the moment, and this is why the whole freaking training session just disappeared in front of me. People say all the time, time flies when you're having fun. My God, I can't believe the clock just disappeared like that. So that's basically it. So this is how crazy I am. I'm actually thinking now, planning in my head to come back for a second session today and do a proper squat workout, because I'm not really happy with this. I basically sprinted up to 160, and that's it. It's cold as hell this morning, man. Cold as hell. So if I have time, I will do another squat session, and I will do another bit of a training session. It's just, this is really juicy stuff when you're kind of working stuff out, when you're thinking about the biomechanics of human movement, when you're thinking about balancing stuff out. It's really interesting. So I want to come back again when I'll do some more squats, and I'll do some more anterior core. But I think the better option for me is to do the sit-ups with kind of the bent leg position. Number one, it's less aggressive on the psoas, and more aggressive abdominis, which is great. And then I can finish off with the mightier wall exercises for the psoas, which is that psoas curl. So really, really cool. I'm really excited about all of this stuff right now. I actually feel a lot better. I feel a lot more balanced. I feel more stronger. It's really, really weird, man. Like when your body is in balance, I said this yesterday, like, there's sensory feedback happening from your body like millions of times per second, right? You're feeling all the time. When I do these ab exercises, man, I literally feel stronger. It's weird. Like, what's giving me that sensation? Well, the core is probably reinforcing my lower back, and the spine is like, man, there's a lot of reinforcement here, man. We can send a bit more electricity through here and fire up those muscles even more. That's the kind of thought, like in layman's terms. That's kind of what I'm thinking about. So really excited, really, really, really excited about all this stuff, and really cool discussions, with you guys as well. You guys are talking about ab wheel, the rollouts. I remember doing them back in the day, man. Like, they are a fantastic isometric exercise in the sense that the core is kind of fighting external resistance. An extension force. You're kind of flexing against that. I just think I'm not strong enough yet, because I remember a few times I had back pain from doing the ab wheel rollouts, because you kind of overextend when you get fatigued, and then the only way you can kind of pull yourself back in is to just fire up your the hip flexors. And then I remember arching my back. I remember the abs letting go, and so those are kind of like vulnerable positions for you to be in. So you need to be very, very careful how you approach that. You need to be, I don't know, like I feel like I like exercises that when I hit a brick wall, when I can't do any more, I just collapse, and that's it. But with that exercise, I always feel like I'm in a vulnerable position, end range of motion, and I'm really, really exposed in that end range of motion. It's kind of like the good morning. You know how the good morning, like right at the bottom, the strength curve is like the most difficult at the bottom position. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's where injuries happen. It's that change of direction right at the bottom. So at the most difficult portion of the exercise, you are at the end range of motion and you are changing direction there. And so that's what makes exercises really, really difficult and really dangerous. I feel the same way with the ab wheel rollouts. Right at the end there, you need to change direction at the worst possible strength curve. Whereas when you think about with the squat, you know, a lot of people get out of the hole quite easily. It's that kind of halfway up that's where the sticking point is. So that is not an unsafe position for us, because we're not changing direction there. So it's something really to think about. Anyway, my mind's just buzzing right now with all this core work. But that's where I'm at. Oh, by the way, I want to thank the fellas from Seeker Strength. Watched your video yesterday. I really appreciate the love. I watch you guys all the time. So it was really, really cool to see that you guys threw me into the video amongst all those other dudes. So thank you very much, guys. I appreciate you, and I'm a fan of your channel. All right, guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.